Today we're going to take a look at this in an area you don't normally get to see. This is a 2010 Ford F-150 Platinum Edition. It has about 40,000 miles on it. It is a beautiful truck that I love dearly. And today I would like to do two things. First off, I'm going to show you this truck, and you might just ask, well, what difference does it make? It's just a truck. You'll see. You'll see what I'm talking about in a moment. The second thing I wanted to ask you is to get an objective opinion in the comments as to what your opinion is of the repairability of this vehicle. A little background. I've owned this truck since it was brand new. I pulled it off the showroom floor. Loved it ever since. I have a lot of sentimental attachment to this vehicle, but we won't get into that right now. None of you guys out there have the sentimental attachment that I do. So I want to get your opinion, and I want your opinion on the repairability of this vehicle. So, if you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them to the best of my ability, but here we go. Long story short, I got into a very bad car wreck on the morning of September 9th, 2013. Some of these things you will see, I will show you before and after pictures, so you can see what it looked like before I started cleaning it, and afterwards. And, well, we're not getting any younger here, so let's go ahead and get started with this. Here's the front of it. This side was taken apart by the body shop. The bumper was taken off by the body shop. This side was smashed from the car wreck. You can see that the damage is quite extensive. The wheel got ripped off. It was not taken off. This is the right front wheel. The structural supports that control the impact of the object masses that you see on the videos did in fact do its job. That's not a joking piece of metal. I went ahead and resoldered these wires and extended this one. This goes to the fog lamp at the bottom on the bumper. There is some frame damage to this cab mount, as you can see here. There's also frame damage here. That's not supposed to be curved out like that. It's supposed to be looking like that. I believe that the upper control arm here is also bent, but it's hard to say really. It looks fair. The whole frame looks a bit catty-cornered, just from the indent of it. This mount is also slightly off kilter, as you can see. This structural support down here is also off. The sway bar end link here is damaged, bent, and the ABS and electrical connections and the brake line have all been ripped off. This goes to the antenna for the radio. Not the radio inside the CB radio, the actual like radio from the dashboard. Inside here, this is what the interior looks like. There used to be blood everywhere. Yes, all the airbags, or almost all of them, popped out. Seatbelts are, my understanding is that once they're done, they're done. Like, you can't reuse these things. So, you can see inside there a little bit, not really well. But what happened here too is a little surprising. The whole floor got bent in there. The floor pan got crunched in. And this is the funny part. I'm not going to take all the cover off here because it's just a lot of work. But you see the windshield got caved in. They said that they can repair this damage, this floor damage right here. But they can't repair, according to their estimate, this ding on the side of the door here. Now, I don't know how well it's showing up on the camera, but there's a little ding there, or a ding, not a small ding per se, but it's a ding. So they're saying they couldn't repair that, and they would need to replace that entire fender, but they could repair this floor pan. So I'm not quite sure why they said that. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. This looks like something that they would require a replacement. Again, all the airbags came out. This is something you don't normally get to see. There are blood spots on the airbags. Those are not spots. Those are blood spots. Those are actual blood spots. Let's see here. Come on. No, you're not gonna really see any blood out here. Oh, there we go. There's some blood. There used to be blood on the seats too, but we cleaned all those up. Now we just pack the airbags up there so they're out of the way. So these are just dirty. I don't think that there's any... Oh yeah, look at that. There's a lot of blood on these things. But all the floor has been vacuumed and cleaned. All the seats have been scrubbed clean of all the blood. So there's the inside. The dashboard still needs to be cleaned up of all the glass shards. Steering wheel airbag popped out. The retractable step down here broke, so that has to be replaced. Mirror caved in, top piece came down, the headliner came down. This is what we finally got out when we got into the car crash. Now I won't get into all the details of the car wreck because that'll take hours, or at least a long time. It won't take hours, but you can see more of the blood here. That's blood spots right there. There was a big blood spot on the seat here, but that was all scrubbed clean. There was all sorts of blood on here before, down here, but that was all cleaned. Same with all on the panels. A question you might ask is, was the door ripped off? No, the door was not ripped off. That was taken off by the body shop and was put back here. You can see the door in there. That was put back. That was put back there. So, okay. In case you're wondering, yes, the airbags did pop over here. The body shop guys just tucked them back up in there, so that they were out of the way. But the airbags did pop down there. Same curtain rags as over here. So, he also claimed these plastic cowling pieces needed replacement. Now, I'm going to take these out here so we can see them, or at least I thought I was. I'm going to take these plastic cowling pieces out. Now, they're plastic, like a lot of things on modern cars. So, we got to keep that in mind. But he claimed that these needed replacement. And I want your guys' opinion. Because I honestly don't see anything about these that need replacing. I'm going to shut up and you guys can look at them. Okay, other side. And you can see I'm dropping these things and they're perfectly solid. So, let's look at these again. I don't see anything about these that need to be replaced whatsoever. They're perfectly reasonable and they're perfectly solid. And you might think, well, they're just a couple pieces of cheap plastic. Price them out and see if you can find them for cheap. Yes, they are pieces of plastic, but let's face it, all OEM parts are expensive, and these are certainly no exception. He also wanted me to replace this headlamp assembly. This was on the side that was not cracked. The other headlamp was cracked, and it's in the bed of the truck here, but this one was not. And in fact, if it's any recollection, these are the bulbs that are still in there. That one, and that one. Those are bulbs. Look. I'll twist that and pull it out. That bulb is still fully reusable. Yeah, okay, I can... Well, actually, I don't think that could be twisted out of its socket. But anyways... He also claimed that this headlamp assembly needed to be replaced. I'll do the same thing and show this one to you. Here's the actual headlamp itself, that bulb. Ugh. Well, after I'm done with it, it's gonna definitely need replacing. That's just a drain hole, I think. Son of a bitch, that doesn't want to come out. Anyways. This is the other one. This is the side marker lights. perfectly good to me. I see nothing about that needs to be replaced at all. Now, it's a bulb. So, you know, it probably wouldn't hurt to replace the bulb just because some of the filaments may have been shattered just during the impact. But replacing bulbs is a hell of a lot easier, cheaper, and just a very different story than replacing a whole headlight assembly. So looking at the back here, there's nothing about this that needs replacing. That is not a crack. That's a weep hole kind of thing. That's to let water and stuff out. And okay, even if it is a crack, because it does look a little weird, but okay, so let's just, I'm assuming it's a weep hole, just to keep the condensation out. But even if it is a crack, it's not a crack that's so bad it can't be reused. Let's turn this around. Okay, so the lens is a little scratched up. That's not a big deal. Always clean that. But look closely. Does anything about that strike you as it needs to be replaced? No. And it was on there before he took it off. That is perfectly reusable. That is perfectly reusable. There are things that need to be replaced. These are not one of them. So when he tells me about the chassis needing to be replaced versus that little spot over there that I showed you that needed to be repaired, I have my doubts, because if he's going to charge me for new parts here, what else is he going to charge me for that doesn't need to be done? Here's the weather stripping. Also something he said it needed to be replaced. Weather stripping isn't that big of a deal to replace because it is good to do it after a while. It does get old. But my point of looking at this, I mean, let's look at this. I don't remember which side this was for. But this, to me, looks fully reusable. There's no cracks, there's no tears, there's none of that in there. Oh, there's a little one here. Oh, that one definitely needs to be replaced. Look at that. Whew. Okay, so we got one that needs to be replaced. My guess is that came from the door up there that was taken off. We were hit largely, we hit the tree, which is what we crashed into, on this passenger side here. So it's the passenger side here that needs most of the work. He also claimed that these pieces here, these are the trim plates that go over here. They go on the door here. Minus the seatbelt being in the way. He said that these also need to be replaced. I see absolutely nothing about this that needs to be replaced. Now, some of these things had blood on them before and all sorts of things, but I don't see anything there that needs to be replaced. And again, it's hard to say, you know, it's probably hard to make judgment on a video, and I get that. But, you know, he wants to charge all sorts of replacement things, and honestly, I don't see the need. Oh, here's the other thing. He said the rear window needed to be replaced. Let's look at this from an angle. Same angle I'm looking. I'm looking at it right through the camera screen. I don't see anything wrong with that window at all. Let's look at it over here. Besides the fact that it has every sticker in the world, I don't see any cracks, any splits, any reason for that thing to be replaced. Now, this cable here was jammed in there on purpose. I did that. So if that's the whole reason for replacing this window, and I don't remember what the cost was, but I certainly remember it not being cheap. But if that's the reason for replacing this window, that's ridiculous. It doesn't need to be replaced. This is a body shop that came very highly recommended, and on Yelp was very highly recommended. Two sources that I trust really well recommended this website. Again, Yelp, and then another auto shop that I use periodically. My inclination, from what I'm seeing here, is that it doesn't need to be as repaired as people are claiming. Because if you look at this thing, it's damaged, and I'm not going to bat an eye about that, but you compare things like that they said needed to be replaced altogether, and you compare that fender on the other side, it doesn't need to be all that replaced. You know, not all of this stuff needs to be replaced. I think he said this rear door panel here, this outside panel needed to just be replaced. You mean to tell me for a ding like that, and then a ding like that, which was my fault, that happened a long time ago? Several people came by as I was driving or even parked and commented about this. That Let's see here. See if I can get you. There you go. It's a pretty sizable ding, but that happened a long time ago. You mean to tell me for that ding and that ding, you couldn't bang that out? I'm not a body man, and I could probably bang those out. And it doesn't bother me having a few dings in the door. Because the sentimental attachment I have to this vehicle so far supersedes this. It amazes me. And so my impression from these body man, and they quoted me about $52,000 to do this whole truck replace, to do all this repair. They couldn't guarantee it could be done for that. Here's another piece, that little piece down there. It's plastic, so that might need to be replaced. I can give them credit for that. The glove box won't close, and I'm not sure why, seeing as it was closed before, so that part I'm a little suspicious of. I think it's just hitting something, but you know, there's a lot of things that go into a repair estimate, but there's a lot of you can see a lot about a shop by looking at their repair estimates. And when I see repair estimates like that, I see it as them basically telling me to screw off and that they don't want to repair it. And that's fine. If they don't want to repair it, then just say so. I'm not going to hold them hostage by demanding that they repair this thing. But yeah, there's damage. And, you know, with all this other stuff, I'll open the hood in a moment. With all this other stuff, I don't see why it's not repairable. I just don't see it. So, and the engine still ran when they pulled it into the salvage yard after the crash. And all of that. Oh, and by the way, I think they wanted to replace this panel here. Those are the screws from the CB radio that I have there. So, whoa, what the heck was that? What are you doing? I don't know who you are. It looks like a little piece of felt. Anyways, you know, I just don't see the need to do all sorts of repairs. Let's go over to the driver's side and you can see what that looks like a little bit better. I have my keys with me. Cool, I can unlock it. But yeah, here's the interior. Oh, here's the other thing he said it needed. He said it needed a new gauge cluster. Look at that for me. Does that look like it needs to be replaced at all? No. Not at all. Oh, and here's what I was saying. He said that when he tried to start the vehicle, he rolled that window up over there. So he knows the electrical system works because that window was rolled up. The window inside this driver's door, inside the passenger door here, was shattered. So that's a gone window. But that window over there, he rolled it up. So the electrical system works. He said he tried to start the vehicle, but the computer system in this car has a safety function where it won't let you start the engine if the brake system isn't connected electronically. Well, guess what? There's no brake system if there's no wheels. So that tells me the fact that the computer wouldn't let the car start. By the way, here's the computer. You'll see it a little better when we open it up. It's still perfectly reusable. That tells me that the computer system and at least a majority of electronics are working. Because if it wouldn't let the vehicle start because of the missing wheel, that tells me that that god-awful priced computer, however much that the stupid thing costs, works. And that to me is amazing. Because that computer still works, that's a good sign. If the electrical system still works enough that there's voltage to the battery, after we crashed, after a while it sits here, the battery naturally depletes. I wasn't surprised when the battery was dead after a while. But there's still voltage to the battery. The engine still started when he pulled it into the salvage yard lot. And this computer system is declining to start the motor because of the missing wheel here. All of those are good signs to me. All of those tell me that the computer system is still telling this engine and still telling this car what to do. Perfect signs. Now, he removed all the bumper here, so that's not an issue. There was a PA system in here. That's why you see these wires, which probably should send them for a loop. They probably weren't expecting to see that, which would be kind of funny to see the reaction. Anyways, here's the engine. Or under the hood, I should say. There's the engine. all these little things you're seeing here are just dryer sheets. They keep the rodents and stuff out of here because I don't like the smell. Neither do I. So that kind of deters two people. Now it's hard to see this on the camera, but the radiator looks like it has a little bit of a bend right here, but nothing that can't be replenished. That was cleaned. Ooh, it's steel too. Look at that. The horns. He wanted to replace those. I don't see the need. There's nothing wrong with them. This was not knocked off through the car wreck. That was taken off by the body shop. I don't know why he left it hanging like that. That's not very smart. And this was also taken off when they took off the bumper. So that was not removed. That was not damaged in the process. That rip may have been done during the process. This rip here may have been done as a result of the wreck. That I wouldn't be surprised about. But 2 rips in this piece of whatever this stuff is, yeah, that's not grounds for me, in my mind, to replace it. A broken connector, okay, that's not grounds to say no either. I can't open the air box here because it's just kind of a pain. It was a pain before the wreck too, so especially hard to do it with one hand. So, but you know, again, in fact, there you can see the computer. Look at that. By the way, it holds itself up, and that's thanks to the body shop putting this hood the gas piston back on. And by the way, there's another good sign. The hood is enough intact, at least on the surface, to hold itself up like this. They also wanted to replace these grill supports. They're steel, and they're just a little bent, as you can see here. So you can see that little bit of bending. He wanted to replace both, I believe. If there is any bending on there, it's very, very minor. And not enough in my mind to justify replacing the whole damn thing. The grill needs to be replaced because it's cracked. But that's the different part. So here's the computer. Still perfectly reusable, perfectly intact. And there's a fun little trivia thing. Look at that, you can see my gloves down there. Woohoo! Anyways, there's some repair work to be done. There's a burnt hole in there. There's probably stuff inside that hole. This is where the battery was connected. This is some connector. Oh wow, look at that, connector broke off. So there's work to be done, and I'm not going to dispute that. But in my mind, there's nothing about this vehicle that can't be replaced. So there's parts of the washer. In fact, I think he even wanted to replace some of the washer parts up here. I don't see it. I don't see what needs to be replaced about any of that. I would ask for you guys to look at this objectively. Don't look at this from a perspective of just like the body shop where he's just saying it's wrecked to move on. Look at this honestly. Do you honestly see a repairable vehicle here? If not, say so. If you do, say so. I don't see what part of this is not fully repairable. For those of you wondering why I'm such a Ford fanatic, this is why. I walked out of a really bad car wreck alive. Oh, here's some more damage here. I walked out of a car and compared to that, so that's pretty damaged. You know, okay, fine, whatever. I walked out of a really bad car wreck alive because of this truck. She is my baby. I love her to death. And I don't see anything about this truck that screams unrepairable. These guys opened my eyes. This body shop, whose name I will not disclose. This body shop that did this, the estimate after insurance, which was on my dime, unfortunately. Because insurance claimed it total, moved on. But I said to insurance, the insurance estimate was about equal to the check they were going to write me. And so I said, well, why don't you just save the check, repair my truck, and I'll get it back, and we'll be done. And they said no. So, you know, again, I don't see anything about this truck whatsoever that's not repairable. It may be hard for me to realize if this thing really truly wasn't repairable, it may still be hard for me to accept that, but at least I could look at this from a different perspective. People are looking at this thing glass half empty. I can see it. I don't see anything about this. Oh wow, look at that. Old car. I don't see anything about this truck that screams, "Don't repair me." Because this thing's still perfectly repairable. I mean, you can look. The damage stopped because of those structures there. This is a newer vehicle by like 5 years, something like that. This is a 2004. So it's a little older, so one could probably argue that it's not a fair comparison. But this has no structural support whatsoever behind these fenders. There's just long black beams that go, or little tiny twig looking things that go here to connect the fenders, which are supposed to provide some sort of structural integrity. Also, the computer is mounted right there. The underhood fuse box is also mounted down on the bottom in an irritating as hell place to reach. So if you even get into a minor fender bender here, fender bender against here, you're going to crush the computer and potentially crush it against the fuse box, ruin the fuse box. This is a poor design, and there's no structural integrity. This thing, this car wreck, it stopped the damage because of those structure frames, and because they're so damn strong and they're so damn correctly, they're engineered so well. This has none of that. This would not survive the way this thing did. If I was in the car wreck in this van versus this truck, this van would have probably rolled over because of the top. It really is a high top, and you feel it when you're driving until you get used to it. But because of the no structural support, and because of the high top, and because of the computer system, this would not survive that wreck. This vehicle might be grounds to total under those same circumstances. But this vehicle was not the vehicle I drove. That was it. And this vehicle is fully repairable, I believe. There you go, and you can see the other fender. Still perfectly clean, perfectly reusable. And here you go. If you don't believe me, F-150 Platinum. Woohoo! Oh, and they also said that this badge needs to be replaced. In fact, here you can probably see the damage a little bit better. Let's see if I can get this. Okay, you can see it a little bit better. Yeah, the badge is definitely indented here, but okay. I mean, first of all, a little bit of chip right here. Oof. I don't want to poke myself. A little bit of chip right here. You might be able to bang it out, but even if you do, even if you can't, then okay, you replace the badge and you remove the damage in this fender. I mean, if this is something they're not willing to repair, then how in the world did they possibly manage to repair some of these trucks? I mean, let's assume that this was the only damage. Then I gotta question how they were able to damage trucks that were repair trucks that were more damaged, or so they claim, and so their pictures on their website show, than this. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Oh, mirrors ripped off on the other side too. Forgot to mention that. But here we go. You can see this. Let's see here. It's easier for me to see because. Yeah, come on, don't climb in there. You kind of see the damage there. It's hard to see on the camera. I'm trying to do it best. Oh, come on, you stupid cover. Stop this. Anyways. I mean, literally, the reason you're not seeing much damage on the side is because there isn't much damage on this side. The damage you see down there is pretty much it. So, there you go. Same thing applies back there. That's a sticker that they put on. They blocked off this whole cab because of the blood in the back. But again, okay, so yeah, there's a little damage there. It's hard to show this on camera. I do apologize for that, and I understand if that makes it difficult for you guys to make any sort of rational decisions. But, you know, there's nothing about this truck that's screaming unrepairable to me whatsoever. Let me show you what the back here looks like. This is on the passenger side. So the taillight's broke, or lens is broken, so that would probably need replacement. Okay. Then there's the bed. Oh, in fact, there's a really good angle. You can see it. So that would need to be dinged out, hammered out. I don't see grounds to replace this. Ding it out. It's not that big of a deal. Maybe replace it, but realistically, ding it out. Here's the back tailgate. Nothing bad about that at all. This is a long video. Sorry, you guys. But I just, you know, it's kind of pissing me off that people aren't willing to look past glass half empty. And the more people that I can get to say, hey, this thing's fully repairable. I've had people that have come up and said, look, this thing is repairable. I see it in this. And that might be what this comes down to. But I figured I'd give this a shot. It's no harm in doing this. So. Oh, and in fact, let's test these. I have not tested these at all. These are things that pop out when you push them. Wow, look at that. Do you need to replace that step? Not at all. It just popped out like this because it hit. Because the tree hit it and hit the switch here. I'm going to leave it out though, because I hooked this thing onto the little hook in here, and so it helps. So I'm going to leave that out for right now. But same thing on the other side. I mean, the only thing missing on the other side is the cover, and that's in the bed here. So it's sleeping there. Yeah. I see nothing about this truck that's not repairable. I really don't. It needs repair. But I think that the people that were emailing me were pretty ruthless in saying that they don't want to repair it. At least their implication was such. I was thinking about giving them the opportunity to paint it, but given that their attitude was so poor, I'm second guessing my desire to do that. So you know, feel free to ask questions. I understand if some of you guys are just going to not be able to give any sort of input because it is hard to see on camera. I do apologize for that. But any of you that are willing and able to give some input as to what you think about this truck, I'd really appreciate it. Given this a lot of thought, and in the end, I want this truck back for when I leave this state that I'm in now. And I also want it back sentimentally. So, but even then, I'm doing my best to look at this objectively. And realistically, I don't see anything about this truck that isn't 100% repairable. I really don't. Oh, let me see if I can get you a picture of up here. I don't know how well it's going to come through on the camera. Maybe something you just want to take my word for. But there's a tiny ding on the roof here. Oh, there we go. You can see it. That's where the top of the tree hit us. So that's really the only roof damage that I can see. And that is really strong steel, which is the thing. With this truck, because it was built so well, and it was built for us to survive these wrecks, it also makes it so the damage isn't as extravagant. So, they build trucks like this these days, and build cars in general, in a cost manner that basically makes it so that, you know, you replace it once you get into this kind of a wreck. But the fact that they're doing it to make people survive this wreck also makes it fully repairable. I see nothing about this truck that isn't repairable. It's dirty. It looks bad. But I don't see anything not repairable about this truck whatsoever. I'd love to hear your guys' input. Sorry for the long video. But I do want to hear your guys' input. And I'd love to see kind of what your opinions are. I've given this a lot of thought. I've contemplated whether or not I wanted to put this on YouTube, and ultimately I did. So, just please, you know, if your comments are just going to be brash and unnecessarily rude, I don't want to hear them. But if you have something constructive to say, I'd be happy to hear them. So, I'd love to hear your input, and thank you very much for watching. This is probably going to be several parts long. So, alright, thank you guys.